What's happening with Offset, Saweetie, and Quavo? A triangle that's become hip-hop's favorite unsolved mystery. If you've ever wondered why this story keeps coming back, why people are still obsessed, and why every new interview seems to pour gasoline on the fire, you're in the right place, because this isn't just about a rumor. It's about how the culture of gossip, speculation, and drama has taken on a life of its own, and how three people who probably just want to move on keep getting dragged back into the spotlight. Let's take it back to where it all started. The year was 2021, and Saweetie and Quavo were the couple everyone wanted to be. They had the gifts, the matching outfits, the Instagram posts that made you believe in love, or at least in luxury. But then, almost overnight, it all fell apart. A few cryptic tweets, a now infamous elevator video, and suddenly, the internet was in full meltdown mode. People were picking sides, dissecting every post, and looking for someone to blame. And that's when the rumors started. Whispers that Offset, Quavo's cousin and fellow Migos member, had hooked up with Saweetie. No one had any proof. There were no screenshots, no blurry photos, not even a suspicious DM, just a rumor floating around, waiting for someone to grab onto it. And grab onto it they did. The story spread like wildfire, fueled by fans, blogs, and anyone who loves a good scandal. It didn't matter that there was no evidence. In the world of social media, sometimes all it takes is a single tweet to set off a chain reaction. People started connecting dots that weren't even on the same page, convinced that there had to be more to the story. And just when it seemed like things might die down, Quavo dropped a song called Messy. One line: "You wanted the gang, you shoulda just said it. Now things got messy," was all it took to send the internet into detective mode. Suddenly, everyone was sure that the gang meant Offset, that the messy woman was Saweetie. Quavo denied it, but by then, the rumor had taken on a life of its own, of course. Cardi B wasn't about to let her husband's name get dragged through the mud without saying something. She jumped on Twitter, shutting down the rumor and calling it a lie with no receipts and interviews. She made it clear that she knew exactly what was going on in her own house. Even when she filed for divorce again in 2024, she never mentioned Saweetie's name. That's a level of restraint most people could only dream of. Meanwhile, Saweetie stayed silent, never acknowledging the rumor, never giving it any oxygen. She even went so far as to publicly praise Cardi B's music, showing that if there was any drama, she wasn't interested in playing into it. But here's the thing about rumors. They don't need facts to survive. They just need attention, and every time someone brings it up, every time a new interview drops, the story gets a fresh coat of paint. Enter DJ Academics, who decided to resurrect the whole mess in 2025 just as Offset was sitting down for an interview with Joe Budden. Offset's answers were vague, smirky, and just open-ended enough to keep people guessing. He didn't confirm anything, but he didn't exactly deny it either. And that was all it took for the internet to go wild again. Why does this story have such staying power? Part of it is the people involved. Offset, Quavo, and Saweetie are all big names in their own right, and when you add Cardi B to the mix, you've got a recipe for endless speculation. But it's also about the culture we live in. A culture that thrives on drama, especially when it involves women. Offset has admitted to cheating in the past, but somehow he gets to move on with barely a scratch. Saweetie, on the other hand, gets dragged through the mud over and over, even though she's never said a word about the rumor. It's a double standard that plays out again and again, not just in hip-hop, but in every corner of celebrity culture. And let's not forget the fans. There's something about a good scandal that brings out the internet's inner detective. People love to speculate, to connect dots, to imagine that they're in on some big secret. It doesn't matter if there's no proof. In fact, the lack of evidence almost makes it more exciting. It becomes a game, a puzzle, a story that everyone wants to be a part of. And as long as people are bored, online, and looking for something to talk about, this rumor isn't going anywhere. But what about the people at the center of it all? For Offset, this is just another chapter in a career that's been full of ups and downs. He's no stranger to controversy, and he knows how to play the game. For Saweetie, it's a different story. She's built her brand on confidence, independence, and not letting anyone define her. The fact that she's never addressed the rumors says more about her character than any statement ever could. And for Quavo, well, he's moved on too, focusing on his music and his own path. The only people still stuck in the past are the ones who can't let go of the drama. It's easy to forget that these are real people with real lives, real relationships, and real feelings. The internet is a way of turning everything into entertainment, of making it seem like celebrities exist just for our amusement. But behind every headline, every tweet, every viral moment, there are human beings who have to deal with the fallout. It's one thing to laugh at a meme or speculate about a lyric, But it's another thing entirely to keep dragging someone's name through the mud for clicks and likes. So, where does that leave us? The truth is, there's still no hard evidence that Offset and Saweetie ever had anything more than a mutual connection through Quavo. The rumor has been denied, ignored, and debunked more times than anyone can count. But as long as there are people willing to believe it, as long as there are platforms willing to amplify it, the story will keep coming back. It's the nature of the internet. Nothing ever really goes away, especially not a good scandal. But maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to focus on the music, the art, the creativity that made these people famous in the first place. Maybe it's time to let go of the drama and let the facts speak for themselves. Because at the end of the day, the only people who really know what happened are the ones who were there. The rest of us are just along for the ride, watching the story unfold from a distance. And if there's one thing we can all learn from this never-ending saga, it's that rumors are easy to start and almost impossible to kill. They feed on attention, on speculation, on the thrill of the unknown. But they also distract us from what really matters: the music, the talent, the stories that deserve to be told. So the next time you see a headline about Offset, Saweetie, and Quavo, ask yourself, is this really news? Or just another chapter in a story that should have ended a long time ago? In the end, the Offset Saweetie Quavo rumor is a perfect example of how the internet can turn a whisper into a roar, a rumor into a headline, and a private moment into public entertainment. It's a reminder that we all have a choice to feed the drama or to let it go. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to let this one go for good. Because as much as we love a good story, sometimes the best thing we can do is turn the page and see what comes next. But let's be real, letting go of a rumor this juicy is easier said than done. The Offset, Saweetie, and Quavo triangle has become more than just a story. It's a reflection of how we consume celebrity culture and the age of social media. Every time someone tweets a cryptic lyric, posts a mysterious selfie, or gives a sly smile in an interview, the internet is ready to dissect, analyze, and turn it into the next big headline. It's almost like we're all part of a never-ending group chat, where the tea is always hot and the receipts are always just out of reach. What's wild is how this rumor has managed to outlive actual news. Think about it. In the years since the original drama, all three artists have dropped new music, gone through public breakups and makeups, and even faced real-life challenges that are way more important than a recycled piece of gossip. Yet, every time Offset sits down for an interview, or Saweetie posts a new TikTok, or Quavo drops a single, someone somewhere is ready to bring it all back up. It's like the internet has collective amnesia about moving on, a photographic memory for mess. And let's not ignore the double standards at play. Offset's past infidelities are public knowledge, but he's still able to reinvent himself, drop solo projects, and headline festivals. Saweetie, on the other hand, gets her name dragged through the mud for something she's never even addressed. It's a pattern we see over and over. Women in hip-hop and pop culture are held to impossible standards, expected to answer for rumors they didn't start and can't control. Meanwhile, the men involved get to shrug it off, joke about it, or use it as fuel for their next hit. It's a cycle that says a lot about who we choose to believe, who we choose to forgive, and who we choose to keep under the microscope. But here's the thing, the people at the center of this story have already moved on. Saweetie is out here building her brand, collaborating with major artists, and showing young women everywhere that you can be unbothered and successful at the same time. Offset is focused on his music, his family, and his own growth, while Quavo is carving out his own lane, both as a solo artist as part of the Migos' legacy. The only ones still stuck in 2021 are the fans and bloggers who can't resist a good scandal. So what do we do with a rumor that refuses to die? Maybe it's time to change the conversation. Instead of asking, did Offset and Saweetie really hook up? Maybe we should be asking, why are we so obsessed with this story in the first place? What does it say about us that we'd rather believe in drama than in growth, in messiness rather than maturity? Maybe it's time to give these artists the space to tell their own stories, in their own words, on their own terms, because at the end of the day, the real legacy of Offset, Saweetie, and Quavo isn't a rumor, it's the music, the culture, and the impact they've had on a generation. It's the way they've pushed boundaries, broken records, and inspired millions. It's the way they've handled public scrutiny with grace, humor, and resilience. And honestly, that's a story worth talking about. So the next time you see this rumor, pop up on your timeline, remember, you have the power to keep it going, or to let it fade into the background where it belongs. You can choose to focus on the drama, or you can choose to celebrate the art, the hustle, and the real stories that matter. Because in a world where rumors never really die, Maybe the most powerful thing we can do is stop giving them life. And who knows, maybe if we all decide to move on, the next headline won't be about who did what with whom, but about the music, the creativity, and the moments that actually bring us together. Now that's a plot twist worth waiting for.